Hello and welcome to the Cade and Joaquin Talk At You podcast. Blay, blay, blay. Our new movie is out. It's called Immortality. It's good.
Yeah. All right.
I did a tweet today that said...
You tweeted?
I tweeted. I tweet sometimes, but it's basically only for advertising. My tweet said something to the effect of, it's Dracula, and he's back-ula. Not like the actor Scott Bakula. And then I said, just watch it. Just watch the movie. I didn't have a joke. I went in and I was like, I'm just going to
I don't even know who Scott Bakula is.
He was on a show from the 80s called Quantum Leap, where he was time traveled into other people's bodies and would have to make sure that important political and historical figures didn't die.
Imagine being teleported to Hitler's body.
Oh my God.
You're like, okay, well, I can't die now. What, like Julius Caesar?
No, it was, you wouldn't, I don't think you'd get teleported into an important person. I think you'd get teleported into just some, like, Joe Schmo, and then they were like, don't fucking let the Chancellor die. And then he'd be like, got it. I've never seen Quantum Leap, but this is what my...
How do you know about it? You just know?
I don't know. I just know a lot.
Just internal knowledge?
Yeah. It's just all of this brain is for Quantum Leap.
Nothing else.
I don't want anything else in my brain.
I understand.
Scott Bakula, handsome man.
What a last name.
Bakula, it's a great name. One time my mom...
Bakula?
What?
Bakula?
No, it's Scott Bakula.
Bakula.
Okay, Bakula. That's his traditional.
There's a place in Georgia that's spelt like... I don't know how to spell it, but it's pronounced Dacula. And I'm like, that's got to be wrong. And there's no way some place is named Dacula.
That sounds like the joke where they say, why'd they throw that girl off the bridge? Tequila.
I've never heard of that. And I'm honestly ashamed I never heard of that joke before.
Anyway, last night we had a very nice premiere. I appreciate everyone who came. I was so anxious, my guy.
Except you.
You who's watching, why'd you come? You weren't invited. There was one, I don't know if he wants his name out there, but that guy who just showed up, I thought it was so funny. I was preparing to do a speech and I got to do a little bit of my speech when everyone was there. The one joke, I generally never have a joke set up for just when I'm talking. When I'm writing, of course, I have jokes that I plan. But when I'm just talking and doing a speech, I don't generally plan jokes, they just happen. But I was like, I'm calling that guy out for being the most helpful participant on this film, even though I will have met him within the minute. Never seen him before.
People need to know.
People needed to know.
Like, he wasn't there, but we felt his energy.
Yes.
Like, it was definitely present throughout most of those shots.
Have I ever told you how I came up with the idea for this film?
No.
It was Christmas, and I went to the movies with my mom to watch Licorice Pizza, and there was a scene where they were on a bike, and I thought to myself, what if Dracula rode a bike? And literally...
Just snowballed?
It just snowballed. It just became our film.
That was like the least... I wouldn't say important, but least touched on fact of the whole movie was you riding that bike. Or Dracula riding that bike.
That was the idea. That was the full... Originally, it was supposed to... I was considering writing it as a feature, but
Is that how most of your things are made?
Yeah.
Just like one small thought and then it just snowballs?
Yeah, because the way that Parade Float was made was my thought of, I want to drive a parade float. And then I didn't in the movie.
I feel like driving a parade float would be like one of the hardest things ever.
It's on my bucket list.
Really?
I really want to do it still.
Like at the Macy's parade?
Nah, it can be.
Anywhere.
I just want a motorized parade float that someone lets me drive. I've thought of it ever since there was an episode of Next Classified.
That's got to be easy to do.
Yeah.
That can't be like one of the things that you got to be classified. Well, this probably is a classified license.
I think you might have to take maybe like an hour
parade float
to
lesson.
learn. Because it's big. I think that they might have to make you even do like a trucking class or something.
Those are different though.
Yeah.
Because parade floats are more wide.
Dude, did I tell you the greatest comment I've ever received on anything? It was on Parade Float.
Go. Sorry, the thoughts are coming to me right now.
Some guy said, wow, you guys really accurately depicted a parade float construction, but generally we're even more behind schedule. And I was like,
who said that?
Some guy on the internet. And my brain went, well, how did I do that? How did I make something that makes people go, yeah, you did, that's true.
Accurate.
That's accurate.
Because no one knows what they're really doing on a parade float.
I didn't think that parade float companies were a real thing.
This is my question now. Is So you always like say you watch the Macy's Day Parade, right?
Yes.
For what is it, Christmas or Thanksgiving? I think it's Thanksgiving.
I think they do both?
I think they both. They probably do both.
I think they do both.
You never see where the person who drives the parade float. Where the fuck are they?
So the way that it's designed, it's kind of like in
a tank?
Yeah, like a tank. It's like a movie car. I don't know why I was going to say that. So in a movie car, there's like the main car where the people are driving. And there's a whole rig set up around it where a guy kind of looks like he's in a go-kart, and he's the one actually driving the car.
I look this up.
But I think in a parade float, yeah, it's like a little tank slit at the front that he opens up and he can look out and see the street. But other than that, he is kind of blind. He's flying blind.
Yeah, I mean, you're just going straight. Wow, that is a very interesting. Holy shit.
See?
This looks like an airplane.
What? Whoa! Holy shit!
Yeah.
That looks crazy.
Yeah.
Will you send that to me?
What's all of these buttons and dials and
I don't know.
And he's using like a camera to see where to go.
That's it's like Daybreakers.
Dude, that's fucking
the only thing
I would want to do that too now.
Right? It looks cool.
That's got to be some training for that.
We should get you, me, and Isaac and 2 other people maybe together, and we should treat it like the movie Fury.
Oh my god!
Just get in a parade and all die. That's how that's what. That should be the sequel to Parade Float. Us doing a Fury.
Or we can still be the same characters, but then like say we upgraded to like an actual parade float a couple years later, and then like all of a sudden it's like a parade that goes wrong. No one actually dies, but like one dies. You ever itch your eye and then all the vision goes out in that eye for a little bit?
Yes.
That is so weird.
Last night, this is true, when we were doing our premiere, I kept blinking and not being able to see when
That's not normal.
I think it was just nerves and my brain being like, fuck you, you're gonna have a really stressful time, because I was so every time
I get stressed out. I'm chronically stressed all the time.
That
doesn't ever happen to me.
I think that's because I'm not. So when it happens to me, it happens at 100%, and my body's not used to it.
That's fair.
So then it's like, okay, let's stop looking. Let's stop being able to see. That makes sense. That's what we should do. And then I'm like, no, let's see. I'm always so nervous that people aren't going to laugh whenever we
That's
release
fair.
a
I mean,
film.
you're making a comedy movie.
Yeah.
I feel like if you made a movie that was serious, that'd be less stressful. Because then you're just worried about hoping it's good. But you're not waiting for like a joke to happen and go like, huh? Like,
yeah.
You're more just having shit happen, you know?
Yeah, it's a very stressful experience.
You want to do the interview or what? Like, I feel like we're not doing.
Oh, okay.
He mentioned
I
earlier.
said that we should do an interview,
like a mock
the
interview.
film. Yeah, sure.
Well, okay, I can interview you first.
Okay,
Since
cool.
you're like the filmmaker.
Great.
We've already covered the basis of how you got the inspiration for the movie, and I guess your thoughts going into it and how it I guess affected you when you're making a movie. I guess what is like when you're trying to stay in the zone of what the point of the movie is. For this one, for example, what was like the thing you would tell yourself or look back on to be like, this is like what I'm trying to achieve here?
Generally, what I do with that is I look at other movies.
Okay.
Because I'm not trying to I'm not trying to steal from other movies, but I'm definitely trying to emulate specific tones and ideas. So whenever I would think about what, for this one in particular, I was trying to accomplish, from the filmmaking perspective, I would always think about Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
And what Mel Brooks would have done to make it funnier, to make it authentic. Because another thing that everybody was talking about a lot on set was whenever we had to do a moving shot, we couldn't steady the camera. That didn't bother me because back in old Universal films, they couldn't steady the camera either. Like there would be some steady shots, but it would have to be on a tripod. But when you move, studio floors used to be really uneven because they were just warehouses. So I like that there's a shake in the camera.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of looking towards old films, but even though Young Frankenstein's from the 70s, it emulates all that golden era stuff very well. So that's what I would look for the filmmaking perspective of it. But for like my character, I just had it in my brain, I guess. And I was like, okay, Dracula's he's a crazy, annoying person.
Yeah.
Who really thinks that he's dominating everything.
Did you use anything as inspiration for that character? Like, did you think of like, oh, this would be a good like, not idea, but I can base it off this a little bit, or was it just all your own? Like, I mean, Dracula in itself is its own character, so there's a lot of your inspiration, like not inspiration from it. But did you use something you watched as like a something to build off of.
Truly, it's just Dracula. Like the ideas
Yeah.
of Dracula, especially old Dracula.
Mhm.
Like old shit where he's like, I am Dracula.
Yeah.
Welcome to my castle.
Yeah.
There are armadillos running around here.
Was there?
There is. It's weird. They don't
That
get real
is such
bats,
a
but they have real
random-
armadillos.
That is so random.
It's really weird. Basically, it was more so bring this Dracula into a real situation, the cartoonish pop culture ideas of Dracula.
I kind of want to go more into when you were, I guess like a more of a basic question is, do you know when you're writing the script what shots you're going to do? Like when you're writing the script, you know this is going to look like this and I'll shoot it like this and then have it be like that? Or is it kind of when you're done writing the script, you read through it and then this makes more sense? Or is it a whole different thing as well?
When I'm writing the script, I'm visualizing the movie in my head just because I'm a fully visual thinker.
But since you're usually acting in it,
Yeah.
you visualize it from the actor standpoint, or are you visualizing it from the director standpoint of the shots?
It's a combination of the two. There's times when I'm writing something where I have a shot in my mind, and so I draw it so that I can show it to Camilla, our cinematographer, and I'll be like, this is what I want this shot to look like. But more often than not, what I'm doing as the director is making sure everyone else has the tools to make it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And Camilla is really good at finding the shots in the scene. And I create a shot list where I'm like, I think that... So I guess I do have an idea of what I want the shots to look like, but it's never something where when we're on set and it's not right that's in my head, I'm like, we have to change this. It's something where I want Camilla's input on it. I want to know what she thinks and what she thinks will be best for the shot.
Mm-hmm.
But there are... I have to plan out what the shots are because I have to make the shot list.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes
Is it more just like a brief, this is what I want it to be, or do you know like this exactly? Like I've seen the shot list and it's very like sectioned out, like each scene and each shot is all different. But is it like when you're making it, are you like this more just like a loose what I want, or is it more like it always exact, this is what it's going to be?
It's a really loose what I want. Because I express what type of shot I want. Like I'll say if it's a like medium shot from the waist up or whatever, and how many people I want in the shot, and then I say what I want the shot to express. Mm-hmm. And then outside of that, I never think, oh, this is what I need to add.
Yeah.
I there's never a point where I say to Camilla, it needs to look exactly like this or else I'm fucking losing it.
Yeah. Do you think, you touched on it earlier, how you look on both sides of when you're writing the script?
Mm-hmm. There's a frog that lives in my walls. I'm 100% certain he lived in the walls. I don't know what to do about him.
That is so weird.
I hear him all the time. I feel so bad for him. He might just be outside. Everyone who can't hear this, there's a frog that's going wheat, 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 wheat.
It sounds like a pipe's like dripping.
Yeah, it's a frog. I feel like he's in my house, but I am not certain.
That sounds more fun. He's living in your AC unit?
Yeah, I think that he's like a Tom and Jerry. He's got a Tom and Jerry situation up there where he's got like a matchbook bed.
So you touched on it earlier when you were when I asked you about when you're playing out the shot, do you think as the actor or the director, when you're writing the script, do you think that, since you think of both, you said,
mm-hmm.
you think it makes it easier to write the script because you're looking at it from both aspects, so you can write in a scene that makes it not as awkward or as hard for the actor, but it also makes it easy for the director yourself for the shots?
What I actually think has made it the easiest to write is the fact that I've been an editor for 10 years. So instead of knowing what the shots are, I more or less have a full edit of the film in my head before it's even shot. So I'm able to figure out what I want the pace to be more so than anything else. And that helps me know, okay, this is how these jokes are going to string together, or this is how this line's going to play, or how this emotional beat should hit. Mm-hmm. So I have a full edit in my brain, which I think I think that's one of the more helpful skills a director can have, is knowing what it's going to look like at the end, so that there's not a lot of confusion. And especially when I get like bigger productions where there's more people working on them, I think that's going to be really helpful in order to communicate my ideas and be like, I want to make sure that you understand this because I have it in my brain, but I don't want to also take away from their creativity of the things.
Now we're doing this. We should have shot it like an actual interview.
We should have.
We're sitting in the seats. Yeah. That would have been way cooler.
Do you want to pause and set that up?
Kind of want to.
Okay, let's pause and set that. You're doing very good at this, by the way. We'll be right back. And we're back.
We're back, yes.
We have a fancy new interview setup.
Mm-hmm. I guess I should go back into it. So
look at you doing the. He's doing
the
legs.
leg. You might not be able to see it, but doing a little bit. Oh.
He's doing a little.
Leg.
There it is.
You're professional.
Watch the video version this week, guys.
Yeah, this is definitely a video version. Not exclusive, but preferable.
Mm-hmm.
We got lucky. We're never shooting outside in the elements of whatever, like weather or like the first night there was a little bit of that, I guess, worry of getting rained out. But something that didn't happen that one of the viewers from last night at the premiere mentioned that every shot looked really still. And there was coincidentally no wind for any shot.
There's never any wind.
Is that always like, I guess, weather one of your biggest nightmares in shooting outside? Even to like all accords, like including just wind?
Well, there's stuff to prevent wind for microphones. I don't have a lot of it. I need to get more of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing of, I don't think about the weather a lot. So I'm going into the scene, and if we're shooting outside, I always forget to check the weather.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, it'll just be fine.
Yeah.
Which is a bad mindset to have. I need to.
So we don't live in like Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Where it's usually always fine. It rains like 3 times a year.
It's North Carolina rules, so it's anything goes.
Yeah.
It is a way of thinking that is not smart at all.
But I mean, it is what it is. I guess,
is what it is.
I mean, it's turned out fine so far.
It has.
And for most things,
Can we pause for one more second? I have an idea.
I guess I got to start again from a new spot because we had to take a break because now we have
branding.
Branding, yes. Now we're actually official.
Now this is an actual interview.
So when all the films you made so far, it's kind of been the same cast and crew throughout most. Have you noticed like a significant jump, I guess, of A, being able to work with this cast now and crew since you've been so used to them, and B, their ability to do their job, I guess? Yeah,
I noticed a big jump from, of course, the first film, which is it was basically just kids with a camera making a movie about Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
To this, which is now very much... Ooh, that's some fucking thunder, my guy. A big jump happened between my ability to direct. I feel like I was a lot more confident in myself. And I found out last night, I feel very confident whenever it's me getting to direct and be in control of this situation creatively, as opposed to everybody just kind of has to be here and I'm in charge of everyone or everybody's looking to me to what we're going to do. I just am looking at it as, this is cool, but when it's directing, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to tell people things. I figured out a lot better ways to tell people things.
And then you gotten better at switching your brain because you're switching it from 3 different aspects. You're switching it from just being friends, everybody, then being a director, and then also having to act. Is there kind of a weird balancing act between all that?
I definitely can't be mean.
Yeah, well,
I don't like to be mean,
but you can be assertive.
Yeah,
you can definitely be assertive, which I would say. Definitely gotten better at that.
Yeah, I got
over the
much
past
better
few
at
films.
on this film. I learned, because I'm not a very assertive person in life. I'm very blasé. But on a film, I like to make sure that it's evident that I'm in charge. I like to make sure that I don't want to be like a dominating force, but I just want everyone to be able to say, okay, Cade kind of got this. I don't need to worry about what's happening.
Yeah.
And I want that to just be something that everybody can look to, and then as soon as we're done shooting for the day, we can just be like, oh, let's chill, we're friends. Yeah. The biggest thing that's happened was getting Camilla back into the crew. Because she's...
I
went to film camp with her.
But also making...
Wrong Address,
yeah.
Yeah. So her inclusion was...
For anyone who doesn't know, I think you mentioned earlier, just so I can say, Camilla was the cinematographer, like, I guess, director
of photography.
Not tonight, throughout the film.
Tonight.
That was her main purpose. So a lot of shots, Cade would have her input from it, but she would also be the one manning the camera and like saying what we needed for certain shots.
She's, I guess, the person I've made movies with the longest, because I went to film camp with her when I was 15. And so there was a couple years where I made stuff, right? That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Isaac was a very good camera person, but it's not what he liked doing. He just kind of fell into it because we needed someone to be behind the camera. But Camilla understands when we're on set. There's like there's a weird language that only me and her are speaking that makes it, I feel really confident because I can kind of go and direct and talk to her about what the shot needs to be, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I get that. And she understands. And then with actors like you and Audrey, it's become, you're very good at taking physical direction. Like you're outside of me as you know, I like writing physical comedy a lot. You're very good at doing the physical comedy that I write for you. And Audrey is very good at understanding the kind of tone I want in each scene, which is a very interesting thing because there's sometimes I just can't convey that. I have learned I need to figure out how to direct simpler things a bit clearer because there's one shot of the film where Audrey's running away from the house and she's dropping her bike. And we had to do like 10 takes of that because I was definitely not telling Audrey how to do that well.
That leads into my next couple questions. Do you think that out of everything, it's really a two-part of this part. Okay. We'll go off based on what you just said. Do you feel like that is the thing you need to improve on most as a director? And then the second part of the question is, what do you think you do the best as a director?
Definitely what I need to improve on the most is clarity. Okay. Because in my mind...
On what aspect? All around, or the way you write something in a script, or the way you tell someone to do something?
The way I tell someone to do something, because a lot of the times, just based off of the way that I talk, the words that I'm using are a bit ridiculous. So when I'm saying it to someone, it isn't always communicating in the best way how to understand what this shot needs and what I need from them when it's something really simple. When it's like a big dialogue scene and I need to get their emotions, I feel like I'm better at that only because it is a lot more complicated. But I do need to figure out a way to make sure that I can be more concise and clear in what I'm saying. And then my strength, winning personality.
I guess we'll put it in easier ways. That what is the thing you feel most confident to when you have to do it? You're not like, you don't second guess your judgment, or you're not thinking about it to where you just kind of do it.
The physicality of a joke. If I'm setting up a joke that's purely physical and the scene progresses and I can understand how to do it better. But if I'm expressing to someone motion in a scene, I feel like I'm better at expressing the kind of Rube Goldberg-esque way of you have to hit this and then slip this way so that it'll look ridiculous on the camera.
For yourself throughout, because you mentioned how things were like certain shots were, or certain things in your aspect of directing and writing would be a little hard to translate onto, because I remember when you were writing the script you just wrote and there's like a thing with like a crumpled up piece of paper and you couldn't figure out how to write that into a scene. So you just had to make an example of it. Kind of building off of that, was there any shot in the movie to where you had an idea for it and then when it came down to actually doing it, you're like, this, I don't really know how to do this now? And was there like, I guess the real root of the question is, what was like the hardest shot to do in the movie? Like kind of to where like you had to really think about that one the hardest.
The most difficult shot that I had planned beforehand was actually the shot of you casting a shadow on the wall.
Really?
Because originally I had a very different... That scene was supposed to be a lot longer, and I had a part in a kitchen where Dracula was cleaning the blood out of a dish, but I was like, I don't have another kitchen to use. So originally in that shot, you were supposed to raise your stake and swipe at Dracula just as he leaves the frame. But I didn't know how to time that well enough, and I didn't really know how to do that shadow thing. It turned out great in the film, but it was a lot of... Everyone who was there that day, which was the smallest crew we had, which was Isaac and Camilla, figuring out how to do that, and that was a very hard shot. And then the one shot that I will say looks good but didn't turn out as well as I wanted it to is the shot of me lying in the coffin. I think I could have made that feel more claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Because it feels very open as it is, and I'm supposed to be closed in. But I currently don't know how I would have done that.
Yeah, I mean, that is a hard shot because you're having to imitate being inside of it. Without actually being inside of it.
I should have watched that Ryan Reynolds movie, the one where he's buried alive.
That movie kind of messed me up as a kid. Not gonna lie.
Never seen it.
It is freaky. It's a scary movie. Just the thought of that. The idea
I remember
of it.
One time there was a Batman thing where he did that and then he punched out with car keys.
What's Batman? What do you expect? That's weird. It's raining outside, but it's bright.
That means. Do you know what that's called?
No.
I think in some places it's called the devil is beating his wife.
Wow. What was your favorite, like, I guess, shot you did? Like the one you were like most proud of and that it turned out the way you wanted it to. When you look back on it, you're just kind of like, yeah, that one's I'm really I'm proud of.
There's a lot. The shots in this film I think are really cool because they really emulate the style I wanted very well. My favorite I would probably say is the one towards the end where I jump on the bike because it's a great 2-shot of me and Audrey, and it just has really funny connotation because I sure did smack my nuts right on that bike. Like, so hard.
Do you feel like this is your all-around best work so far?
That's a good question. I'm very proud of this film. I like the script. I love every element of it. I do think it is unarguably, from a filmmaking standpoint, probably my strongest piece. But I have a very strong opinion that Wrong Addressed is currently my best work because it's very concise, very quick. And it could also just because that was taught in a classroom. So that is affecting my look on it. Because a lot of what I've done is kind of a take on the horror genre. The Thursday the 12th being a take on more modern horror, Wrong Address being slasher, and then this being Universal Monsters. I'm kind of lampooning genre a lot. So it's hard for me to say what is the best one because each one is pretty different from each other.
I kind of want to dissect what you just said. And the first part, we jump back a little bit, how you said Wrong Address was taught in a class at college.
Yes.
I guess first go into how that, what came up with that. And then, I'll second part when you finish that.
That was pure luck. Every part of that was pure luck. Because my mom has a work friend who was on a date the weekend that Wrong Address came out. And for some reason, she decided to show it to this person. And that person was a film teacher at a Virginia university.
I would assume that's why she wanted to show that person, since they were a film
I guess
teacher.
So. And then he took it into his class the next day. And from what I've been told, I haven't talked to this guy directly. But what I understand is he said, this film is what you can make with no money to his students. And he basically, I don't know if he prefaced with that, but he said, this is the caliber of things I'm expecting you guys to create. And they responded back, how? Like they couldn't. And that's weird to me that they saw my 5-minute movie that we made in a day for $400 and we're like, we can't do that.
I don't know, it's worth $400, that movie.
How much did you think it was?
Nothing.
Well, it's just $400 because I had to get some equipment stuff.
Okay.
So basically it was like, I'll say $50
yeah,
movie.
that seems like more realistic.
Because I just had to buy blood and a sheet so I wouldn't get shit all over their house. But outside of that, I had everything. It was just equipment that I had to get SD cards and stuff.
Okay, that's nothing crazy. So the second part of that question would be, when you make a movie and it's done, do you look to see if it's a success, validation from other people and their thoughts on it and their reactions, or just your own personal this is cool? Because you mentioned earlier how you think Immortality is your best work cinematography wise. Not cinematography. What would you mention?
Just filmmaking.
Filmmaking wise. You think that's your best all around what you did.
Yeah.
But you said Wrong Address is one you're most proud of because it was taught in a class and shown to people. So which one is it more important to you? Is it just kind of that one felt cool because of that? Or do you look for people to validate your movies? That's how you feel like it's success because other people appreciated it.
I'll say first off, I don't really consider any movie my favorite that I've made. Each one is just part of my library now. That is very important to me. But I think that what I look for in making things isn't necessarily validation from people, more so than it's... Well, I guess there's the validation of I want people to laugh. I love hearing people laugh. It's my favorite thing. What I more so am looking for is for someone to say that they really liked... My goal as a filmmaker, just in my whole life, isn't to win awards or anything. It's to make people laugh. And I want to one day hopefully meet someone who said, your movies made me want to make a movie. That to me would be the coolest thing in the entire world. It would freak me out. It's always... Because I'm not making stuff for myself. I guess I am in the sense that I physically can't exist without making these things. If I didn't, I would explode. Yeah. There's a thing in me that forces me to write and make movies. But when it's done, I'm looking just for people to laugh and for people to tell me if they really were...
Bless you.
Both sides.
Bless you.
If they really wanted to make something out of it.
So I guess it's more so just how it affects people, not if they like it. Cool. It's cool if they like it. But it's more so just...
Well, I don't want them to walk away I hate that.
Yeah, of course, no one wants that. But it's more... What's more important to you is how it made... How it made them feel, I guess. Which, I guess that would be also making them like it. So I guess that also kind of all becomes one.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do care if someone likes it. That'd be obviously more important because who wouldn't want something they made and put a lot of effort to people like? But it's more so you care about, like you said, I'm just reiterating it, just how it made them feel on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
Like what thoughts that gave them, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Because usually when you have most people, I don't think any real filmmaker wants to make movies for the awards or the, they just make because art.
Yeah.
And they want to make art, and that's what it is. Do you see your films as art? Or is it more just like, do you subjugate them as different things? Like, do you say a certain part of making it is art? Or is it all around is art?
All of it is art, but I wouldn't put my films in the category of art.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, all I want is I'd consider it just more expression and the want to make people laugh again. Mm-hmm. That's all that I really want, and eventually I want to make people laugh and cry in the same thing, but we'll get there.
I feel like because there's different kinds of directors. There's like a Guillermo del Toro or a Quentin Tarantino who focus a lot more on, I guess, from me, my perspective, the cinematography of it. That's always one of the most interesting aspects of their films, right? Yeah. And that's where I guess you can see the art. Like, even just anyone films like a wide shot of something, that's easy. But it's the way you use the camera in a certain thing that's creative. That's the art form of making a movie, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Then you have other directors like a Michael Bay or other people who's still great in their respective field, but they more focus on just the cool shit. Or some directors focus on just pure like dialogue. They don't really give a shit about the shots, right? Do you feel like there is a certain area of directing that you fall into? Or is it more so you just kind of do whatever the fuck you want and just kind of all whatever feels right for the film?
It's definitely more so whatever feels right for the film. But if I was to compare myself to any sort of directors, I would almost say I'm more of the transitional period between silent films and talkies. Okay. Where people were like, we have no fucking idea how to make these people talk in a movie, so we're gonna do the physical stuff, and then they might say, owie, ow, ow, my little tush.
Do you, like I mentioned earlier, how you talked about, I guess what question I want to ask is, A, do you feel like that is how you always make movies? Or do you kind of want to dabble in everything? Like, yeah, that's what you're comfortable making, but would you want to make something that's, like I meant, like more camera cinematography wise? Or, strengths and weaknesses. You feel like your strength is physical comedy. Sorry. And do you feel like you want to experiment with other aspects of maybe more dialogue based or other things? Or do you kind of always want to stay in the same pocket?
I definitely love physical comedy. It's one of my favorite things, and I don't see myself making a film without physical comedy. It will be less in other films. And I would even say that I have a lot of dialogue jokes within what I've already made. And it's just sometimes they get, like, Wrong Address is a fully dialogue-based comedy. Immortality, I would say, is more physical-based just because of what style we were trying to do. But more often than not, I'm writing mostly verbal dialogue that I consider maybe not funny, but witty with jokes throughout. And I am, of course, interested in experimenting with different styles of filmmaking stuff, camera-wise and lighting-wise, but it's never my intent, unless the story specifically calls for it. I'm never thinking about crazy stuff. I do think that movies need a reason to be visual. They can't just be flat images, which is another reason I love physical comedy, because outside of being on a stage in a movie is basically the only way you can get people to experience that. So a big part of making a movie to me is finding why I'm making it a visual movie as opposed to a book or something.
Yeah. Do you feel that it's that because that's from wanting to cement yourself and just kind of like, this is what I'm going to do, get comfortable with it and get success with it, then I can kind of change up? Or is it more so that's how you want to make things and that's kind of how it always is?
I would say a good bit of it is just that's how I like to make things, but I also currently write with a lot of limitations in mind. Because
as in what?
We don't have a lot of resources here. Basically, every film is produced by me and Isaac, giving money out of our own pockets to make something for what has gone from a couple $1,000s to a couple $100, just because we want to do it.
Yeah.
And we don't have a huge crew. We have to ask for permission. We have to go places, and then you have to ask permission and everything. But we basically have one person on the camera, and then maybe someone on a light, and likely someone on sound. But we have no resources here.
Yeah.
So I try to really squeeze it's the last bit of toothpaste. I'm squeezing that shit out because I know how creative I feel I can go. And each time we make something, I always say, okay, we don't necessarily need to top this, but I know that we have improved while making this, and I want to be able to show that off.
Because like you already mentioned earlier with Wrong Address, the whole point of that being taught in class was doing more with less.
Yeah.
And it seemed like throughout every movie you made so far, you've always done more with less.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Parade Flow, for example. You had Isaac, who our friend, who co-producer on most of your films, he just made that.
Yeah, he just is a beast.
Or he made the coffin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you're able to just adapt to the situation you're in, and you know what limits you have, and you're able to, like I've been saying, do more with less.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's also one of your, I guess, because you're just in the situation you're in?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's a talent, though? And it is? Because there's a lot of people, like you said, in that class who went, I don't know how to do that. I don't understand how to do something like that.
It's weird because I don't actively think about it. When I'm looking at something, I think, okay, this is just what I have to do. And a lot of times I am drastically overestimating what things can happen. Because when I asked Isaac to build the coffin, in my mind, that was going to be a lot easier than an enormous parade float.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't really understand is I was wrong. And a coffin is apparently really fucking hard to make.
It's a lot of craftsmanship for that.
Yeah.
Compared to making just like a flat level.
And he did an amazing job on it. But I'm definitely at a point where I'm not fully understanding what our skill cap is, but then people always exceed my expectations. So it's not even making more with less, I guess. It's just I have what I have, and I don't see it as less. I just see it as what I have at my disposal, I guess. And from there, I'm able to grab things and just say, oh, I'll reuse this. It's easy to do that, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to buy this again.
Yeah.
Because I've used the same machete in like 3 movies.
Yeah. You might as well, right?
Yeah. People aren't going to notice.
Do more with less. Like we've been saying. We've been kind of delving into the, I guess, psyche of when you do things, of how like the inspiration comes from, or how you attach certain things when you're making things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how you do it. I guess I want to delve more into the root of it, right? Because I'm using this as an interview for you at this point.
Yeah, I was really expecting there to be a point where we switched, but we are not.
Because I mean, you're the one who made the movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm just in it. That doesn't really matter about what I think, but it's more you because you're the craftsman behind the art.
This is a really cool. You're doing a very good job. It's freaking me out a little bit. Like, you sound so professional.
Thank you.
You also brought a shark today to the podcast.
I did. We were going to talk about that, but that's besides the point.
Okay.
I want to delve more into where the filmmaker Cade came from. I mean, from as long as I've known you, that's always what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You never really kind of explained it too much to me personally, where this inspiration came from.
Yeah.
Was it kind of something that when you found it, you're like, that's what I'm going to do? Or was it more so you just kind of start appreciating it and then you're like, well, I can do that? Where it could be either one of those, or is it something just completely different from that?
Well, kind of forever I've told stories. When I was 2, my Nana loves to tell this story where I, for 3 hours, sat at a little table with markers and I go click, click, because I was fucking crazy about markers. If you kept a cap off a marker, I would kill the living shit out of you.
Dries out the marker.
Dries out the marker.
Yeah, who'd want to do
Don't
that?
keep it off.
That scared me.
When I was in preschool, when I saw kids not put them, I would go up and put them on. And to this day, if my mom leaves a pen clicked, I go up and I unclick it because it activates something in my brain. But for 2 or 3 hours, I drew out this story I was just telling the whole time. No pauses. I was just like, and then this happened, blah, 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 blah. So I've always liked telling stories. And then throughout, I don't know if I've ever told you this. In elementary school, I wrote a series of books that was based off of me and my cousin Jackson. And I was basically writing my own TV show, but I didn't have the ability to.
I actually never knew that.
To film it.
I know Nana wrote like your adventures.
Yeah, she wrote like actual real life adventure, but I'd come up with like imaginary stuff that me and my cousin Jackson, who growing up was someone I was with all the time, we would get into this crazy situation, and I was an insane person even then, because for some reason in these books the chapters would always be 6 pages followed by 3-page chapters. 6-3, 6-3, 6-3.
Interesting.
Never broke that. Literally never broke that. And I think I started that maybe in 3rd grade. And by 4th grade, people knew I did this, and I would get to read these stories at the front of the class.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really cool thing for me to be like, people like when I'm writing these weird stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't really do a lot with it in middle school, I think, mostly because my parents were getting a divorce. So I was busy. But outside of that, I kind of found that I didn't like reading that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to do anything that wasn't creative. So I just started appreciating film more, and something about it. There's always been something that clicked with me in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea to make movies kind of made me say, oh, okay. In high school, something clicked. Because even when I got into 9th grade, my brain was like, I want to make cartoons. I want to be an animator. And then by the end of 9th grade, I was like, that's too hard.
I remember that.
I want to make movies.
Because you put me on to a lot of like animated YouTubers, like who make animations as their thing to tell stories. You put me on to a lot of those, like Jade Animations and
Odd Ones Out.
Yes, Odd Ones Out.
I love animation still, but I don't have the patience for it. I think I could write an animated film, but I don't think I could helm an animated film because I don't have the mental capacity for it, I guess.
I guess we'll go off like because you already kind of explained where your origin from wanting to make movies is from.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we go back more to the focus of this interview, which is supposed to be Immortality.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier how you made so far 3 kind of horror films, but different genres of horror. They're all kind of delving to comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then but they're all different aspects, I guess, of it.
Of comedy or of horror?
Of horror and comedy, I feel like. The comedy is all the same, more different aspects of horror.
Yeah, I've satirized mockumentary style horror, and then 80s slasher horror and Golden Age Universal monster.
Do you want to focus on making horror movies kind of based off that in your career? Or is it just kind of like, since you have just like, you like horror movies so much, you just thought of it and just run with it kind of thing?
I love horror films, and it's just the ideas I've had for shorts for some reason tend to become horror shorts. I don't know why. It just is what happens. But the 2 feature films that I've written already aren't horror inspired at all. There's one project that I have in my mind that is a horror feature that I'm interested in doing. Both from the perspective of I want to make a feature-length horror film, and from the perspective of, I want to kind of put almost like a cap on. We have. What are you doing? You looking at how weird my feet are?
Yeah, that's freaking me out.
Okay, I'll stop. I want to be able to say, I made all these horror shorts. Here's the horror film, because for some reason to me that feels like, you had this journey, and here's the end of that part of my filmmaking journey is making an actual horror feature.
So you think when you do that, you kind of walk away from the horror genre?
I won't walk away
as a filmmaker, not like as appreciation wise.
It'll just be until the next, if there's another horror project I do, because right now in my weird brain that has a lot of ideas for different features, I only have one feature idea that's a horror film.
Okay.
And outside of that, I want to just make a bunch of other things, like I might even make action movies that are kind of funny.
Yeah.
But more or less, I just don't have. I don't even currently have other ideas for horror shorts. They just have, for some reason, all tended to fall within that net, and I don't know why.
Everything's been comedy in your movie so far, to an extent. Do you ever want to do something without comedy?
No.
Never.
Ever. Never, ever.
Why is that?
Comedy is the thing I love. Making people laugh is my favorite thing in the entire world. And I don't. For me, there's no purpose to art except for to make people laugh. For me, like my personal expression of art. Others really handle serious topics super well. And I like to explore some serious ideas from time to time, but I'm literally completely uninterested in telling a story that doesn't have comedy in it.
What if it has aspects of comedy into it, but it goes into something more serious? Would you be interested in doing something like that?
I've already written a film like that. Like there's comedy throughout it, but it's a very...
At a lesser scale? Or is it
it's
always...
It's not even at a lesser scale.
It's always at the forefront. Like when someone goes to your IMDb and it shows like the genres you're in, would comedy always be in every single one of the movies as part of that? Okay.
Just because I love comedy. It is my favorite genre. It's my favorite thing that exists. And I feel it's not my place in the world to make people always fully sad. What I feel like I want to be for people who watch stuff and just exist is I want to be this respite where even if the world is just kind of sad right now, you can go and laugh and have a good time, or even an emotional time that in the end still made you laugh and you had fun, even if you also cried.
Do you think all comedy, non-comedy movies always have to be sad?
No.
You wouldn't be interested in doing something that's not even comedy. It could be fun, but it doesn't have to be comedy or sad. You wouldn't be interested in doing that. It has to have comedy, like you said.
It has to have comedy.
No matter what.
That's what is appealing to me about writing.
Do you think that, say in the future, because people change over time no matter what. Even if someone you think you won't change, you will change. Your mindset of things will change. Do you think if you have an idea for something that's more serious and not too much in the comedy realm, would you be like, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not what I do? Or would you be open to doing something like that? I know you can never say what about the future, but just say like, just indulge me, I guess.
The idea of if I had something that's kind of a more serious topic, and even one of the features that I've recently written is a pretty serious topic that I'm discussing within it about familial relations, but I put my comedy spin on it. If I was ever to write something that was just not funny, I wouldn't direct it. I would write it, but I would have to hand that off to someone else.
You couldn't help put something humor into it because that's just in your DNA, basically. It's
in my DNA, and also at that point, I would have cemented myself as a comedic filmmaker instead of. So if you go into a Cade Hogan film, you're not expecting just blatant tragedy or even just something that isn't funny. You're going in, you're like, he's gonna make me laugh, he might make me cry a little bit, who knows. That's the two things. And you think I'll probably have fun if you want. So if I was to create something that was serious, I would give it to someone else to direct because I wouldn't physically, both public perception wise, I don't think people would be able to take me seriously from that perspective. And also, because I'd be a comedy filmmaker, they'd be like, he makes me laugh, huck huck huck. That's what laughing sounds like. Because even outside of stuff like that, even outside of film, I plan on being ridiculous. I want to have a mystery machine, for God's sake. Like, everybody's gonna look at me and be like, he's funny. Like, that's the thing he does.
Yeah.
So if I was to write something serious, I'd want to hand it off to someone else.
Would you? If you were offered a role in a serious thing, would you take it? If you're not doing anything funny in it, like your character's not meant to be funny?
I would consider it if I like the script.
So I'm not saying this as in I believe it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying because for be like devil's advocacy. Do you feel like only wanting to make one main genre of film is some sort of weakness or insecurity about your ability?
No, it's just my only interest.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just don't care if it... For me, I don't care about telling a story if it's not funny.
Well, what I guess interesting to me is that it makes sense. But you can also, you watch movies that aren't like that. So there is some sort of...
I appreciate the
appreciation for
how people do it, and I think it's incredible. And I love watching films that express certain things that are sad. They don't have any comedy in it. I love watching those films. But I, as a filmmaker, have no interest in doing that.
Like, you know your strength, and that's what you're going to do.
It's not even knowing my strength. It's knowing my interest. Like, that's what I'm interested in.
Okay. That makes sense. Because, like you have a natural knack, would you say, for it, comedy, and making that things? Or that's just, like you said, just your interest, and that's what it is?
I wouldn't say I have a natural knack for comedy. I love comedy, and I try to be funny. Look at camera, wink, wink, both eyes. But I'm not someone who would be like, yeah, I'm funny. I try.
I mean, because some people, like you said, like their purpose is meant to be something more serious, or something like that. That's because they know that's what they're good at doing. Would you think that's a part of the reason why you want to make comedy? Because it's like some part of that's like you know that you can make a comedy movie better than you can make anything else, or just like you've been saying, just pure out of interest.
I'm gonna answer this by telling a story that's not mine.
Okay.
When Gene Wilder was young, his mom, I think, had a heart attack or something that was a really bad medical thing. And he was really little. He was like 5 to 7. He goes to the doctor with his mom, and he was like, is there anything I can do to help my mom? And he was like, you can make her laugh. That will make her feel better. And he knew that he was succeeding the day that he made his mom pee her pants. She laughed so hard. And from that moment on, he was like, I want to make people laugh. And I have felt I've never made anyone pee their pants from laughing.
Mm-hmm.
What a feat.
Yeah. That's
Gene
like,
Wilder is a god
yeah.
amongst men. I am very interested in the same concept of I want to make people laugh because it is very, very important to me. So it's just important to me to make people laugh. It's important as who I am. I also share this story where I was at a Passover Seder one time, and it was right after we had done all of the ceremonial stuff, so we just got to talk and eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing a bit, and my mom's boyfriend at the time was there, and he was refusing to laugh. Like, he had, for some reason, decided that day, he was like, I don't want to laugh. He might have just wanted to be respectful for the ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
But I was getting my whole family to laugh. And this guy sitting next to me, I was like, you are not laughing. In that moment, I decided, this is not going to stop until I make him laugh. And I went on for 20 minutes.
Holy shit.
Everyone else was laughing. And then I finally broke him, and I was like, yes. So getting that emotional response, I was like, that's what I need.
Not really have anything else, to be honest.
You got anything else?
That's kind of it. I mean, there's anything else like I'm kind of like grasping at. So nothing really that's like I feel like I should ask. Do you have any things you want me to ask you about, or?
No, I mean, you did a really very good job.
Thank you.
Bless you. I was not expecting it to be this in depth, or you did a fucking good job. Like, I was like, oh wow, this feels professional, even though we're in my room and I'm wearing sweatpants
and no shoes
or
socks.
You had to help me in the last minutes of the podcast, didn't you? Yeah, you did a pretty good job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It was nice to meet you, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm Cade.
Nice meeting you.
Thank
Joaquin,
you. Do I stay here for the next press circuit, or does someone else?
No, yeah, I'd leave and then someone else comes in.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.